Welcome to Beirut, Lebanon, the country which is actually going through a deep economic crisis. And it's a little bit strange, but you don't seem to hear much about it on the outside world. But when you speak to people and read about it, it's actually really hard to understand it and believe that this is what's actually happening. We'll dive into it a little bit later because we met a friend, actually met him in Syria, who is currently living in Beirut, and he will help us to understand the situation and explain it to you better. But let's head out into the city, have a look around and have an idea of what this beautiful city that used to be called the Paris of the Middle East is all about.
Merhaba. Tamam, shukran. Right, first things first is we're going to change some money, and we're going to do that on the black market, which sounds very dangerous, but actually it's not. And we'll explain why in a bit.
It sounds very dangerous.
It sounds very dangerous.
That sounds sketchy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Shukran.
Shukran. What's the current exchange rate today?
$1 is 100.
100.
$1 is
Sure. $10, please.
from where?
From England.
1 million.
1 million. Perfect, thank you. Shukran. Masalama. See you. Look at all that cash, man.
We're millionaires.
I knew it's gonna happen one day. I knew it.
But basically, when you hear the black market, I think of something sketchy, that we're gonna go somewhere in the dark alleyway. No one's talking about it. Everything's hush hush. We can literally exchange money anywhere, pretty much. Supermarkets, we've changed it in our hotel recently, so it's not that difficult. It's not what I imagined at all.
No, so basically the phrase black market means anything that's not a bank or an ATM.
Yeah.
And that's because in the banks and the ATM, they give you the official exchange rate from dollars to Lebanese pounds, which is 15,000 at the moment. And the unofficial rate is just over 100,000 Lebanese pounds to the dollar. So that's 8 times, if my maths is anything to go by.
I'll confirm that when I edit.
Yeah,
but
probably 7 actually. So that might all seem a little bit confusing at the moment, and it was for us for the first couple of days of being here, but it will make more sense later when we head into a restaurant or a cafe and buy something, and we can show you what the cost would be if we paid with a card or on the official government exchange rate, or now that we've paid with the black market exchange rate. And as crazy as this inflation is, that actually means for a traveller, for a foreigner coming into the country at the moment, this actually makes Lebanon one of the cheapest countries, especially in this region, but probably the world at the moment, to travel. But for locals, it's the opposite story, as they earn money in Lebanese pounds, and then they're finding that the Lebanese pounds they're earning are worth less and less dollars, or less and less on the world exchange market day by day.
understandably, people in Lebanon doing everything they can to preserve their capital, as well as essentials like electricity and food. And of course, to varying degrees, rising costs are a problem for all of us. Normally, we would lean on our passive income from things like investing to help. We have always been advocates of having money working for you. But that doesn't seem to be a reality anymore. The classic portfolio of stocks and bonds that millions of us have lost around 20% last year, their worst performance in 100 years. Now, the financial advisors are looking at alternative assets like real estate, gold, and fine art. In fact, Bank of America just reported that despite volatility in markets, art prices have outpassed 2019 highs. Don't worry, the billionaires haven't bought it all up. Actually, the global value of art is expected to grow by a whopping $1 trillion by 2026. In fact, our sponsors, art investing platform Masterworks, has sold out over $45 million worth of artwork and distributed the net proceeds to their investors. And every one of their sales to date has delivered a positive return, with 2 more just last month. Masterworks offers art from legends like Picasso, and best of all, allows anyone to invest. Paintings can even sell out in hours. But right now, our subscribers can get priority access and skip the waitlist and join Masterworks using the link in the description box below. Now let's go back to Beirut.
Down here in the Zaytuna Bay area, it's hard to get your head round. We're in a country in the midst of one of the biggest economic crises ever seen, and one of the biggest hyperinflation crises ever seen. The houses around here are absolutely beautiful. The yachts you can see would be like thousands and thousands of dollars. The cars here are amazing. And yeah, I guess it's a reminder that Lebanon is a country of extreme wealth, but it's not spread amongst the people. And there's some people that are working for $50, $70 a month, and also some people that are obviously obscenely wealthy, which is obviously the same the world over, but it really...
The middle class seems to be shrinking desperately. And when I look at buildings like that, and I think everywhere around the world, but especially here, when you think about this situation that's going on more, who can afford them? And what happens? Do big businesses and banks buy it and then they rent it out? Or who can afford it? Because we spoke to so many people that have lost, like that, everything they have. We spoke to a guy, amazing guy, and he was so positive, and he was just full of life and love for life. Overnight, basically, he lost all his savings, his parents' house, pretty much everything. But then he had the attitude, it's only money. It's true, but you need to get to this stage, I think, to think of it that way. If you know what I mean.
As we said earlier, we've actually just come back from a trip to Syria, the neighbouring country, and it's been possibly the most incredible trip we've ever done, and maybe ever will do. Hopefully not. But it's been
Positive thinking.
Yeah, it's been amazing. And actually, that attitude you were just saying about the guy that we spoke to here in Beirut just over a week ago said. Also, a lot of people repeated in Syria as well. That people here just seem to love life, which is quite amazing to witness, isn't it? You know, how people, their attitude to things. Yeah.
Attitude to things. A lot to learn from. It's interesting, you can see that it's a beautiful city, but it's so not looked after. Get some Wi-Fi, see if our friend is ready to meet us, because we're supposed to meet each other at 4. It's 10 to 4, but no one knows what time it is, which is kind of a not funny, haha, a weird situation, because from what we understood there is kind of a disagreement about time change between the government officials and religious side of things as well, so no one knows what time it is right now.
Yeah, so on my phone it shows 3:49 at the moment, but on other people's clocks it could be 2:49. Yeah.
Google, it shows different time as well.
Yeah, Google shows an hour less.
When I tried to change time on my phone when we arrived back to Lebanon yesterday, it wouldn't change it.
Yes, and when we left when we left Lebanon to go to Syria, it was an hour behind. So Syria was an hour in front. So it's changed, but not changed. And also, we've got a flight tomorrow morning, which is at 4:55. But then, if you look on Google, it's at 5:55. So we're not really sure.
Early.
Yeah,
early.
we're going to go early just in case. Hello.
Can we get a drink?
So for a bit of context, those 2 bottles of water that we just bought were 60,000 Lebanese pounds, which is 60 cents on the black market exchange rate. If we were to have paid with card or on the government exchange rate, that would have been $4. So $4 for 2 bottles of water, or 60 cents. Medium cafe latte, 920,000. It's 920,000. Thank you. Shukran. Shukran. Thank you so much.
Again, we paid 920,000 Lebanese pounds for 2 coffees. If we were to pay by card, we would be charged $60, so $30 per coffee. Would you be drinking Starbucks then?
I feel like a proper gringo walking around with Starbucks here.
We bought it purely for the video purpose, okay?
I mean, yeah,
Tastes
the
good.
argument sort of falls down when we've got 2 coffees.
I'll bring you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Shukran. Crossing the road in the Middle East is all about taking your life into your own hands. You can't think, you just got to go for it. Step out.
Confidence.
It is.
When I'm without glasses, I'm trying to make eye contact with drivers of
You see someone, and if they're more than 5 or 6 meters away, step out in front of them and pray that they break.
My favorite thing was to see that it's not just throughout the city. Yesterday we were driving on the motorway, and the driving in general is chaotic, to say the least, and you just see people strolling through, crossing the road, taking their time.
On the motorway, like a 3 or 4 lane motorway, and they're just dawdling along. You know, you can tell why Beirut's been called the Paris of the Middle East, and there is a lot of French architecture here, and you see it in a lot of the buildings, and French is obviously the second language here in Lebanon after Arabic, aiding back to the colonial period. But to be honest, there's so much more to Beirut than that, and in many parts of the city it actually reminds me of Barcelona. You know, some of the buildings are really similar, and then down on the seafront, like with the rock faces, the cliffs going into the water, it's actually pretty similar to Antalya of all places, and it's got a Miami vibe with all like the beautiful modern buildings coming out of the from what I've seen. Anyway, I was trying to think of somewhere that I've actually been, but all I could think of was Miami. I was going to say Blackpool.
What's interesting is that we all do that. I think we try to familiarize the place.
Yeah.
Interesting why we do that, because I always do that with food, but then maybe because I'm trying to explain, like, so you get how it tastes and feels.
Yeah, I think that's why. I think that's probably why people call it the Paris of the Middle East, because you then straight away think of the certain type of buildings, of a layout of a city. But yeah, there is so much more to Beirut. It is actually a really, really beautiful city, and it's so varied, from the old buildings to the colonial buildings to the modern skyscrapers and the beaches and the rock faces.
It's interesting that I feel different about Beirut now than I did when we came first time.
Better or worse?
It's different.
Yeah.
I never felt bad about it, just different.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm more familiar with it now.
Actually, yeah, when we came here before we went to Syria, we actually mainly stayed in Hamra, but now, yeah, we've seen most of the city, and yeah, it's so varied, it's so interesting. I love it. I really love it.
Oh my god, let's embrace it. I'm gonna go for it.
Ready?
Yeah, no.
Well,
Nearly
be
died.
careful, yeah.
You too.
Let's go.
I'm going. I'm hoping please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. I am
And
going.
let's go.
Yeah. Good job, good job. And now who is the
High
real
five
winner?
for living.
What a lovely place.
So this is the St. Nicholas Steps, and if there's anywhere in Beirut that looks like Paris, I would imagine it's here.
But we haven't been to Paris.
Good, you? Hello.
Long time no see, hey man. You
How you
alright?
doing? Yeah, good.
My name is João. So that's the equivalent to John. Nobody can pronounce that name. Even my wife can't pronounce that name. So, yeah, I'm 45 years old. I live in Beirut. I'm from Portugal originally. And yeah, I've been here for very unusual reasons. Actually, no reason at all. I missed my flight to Tehran back in 2020. Then I thought maybe I should just go to Beirut, see my friends there. Then on the first day I got hired as a photojournalist for a French-speaking newspaper in Lebanon, L'Orient Le Jour. Then the pandemic happened, then a bunch of stuff happened, then I fell in love, got married, had kids, well one kid.
Okay, just one. Just one for now.
And I just ended up staying and I'm still here. So we're in Jamesi Street. This is actually where Anthony Bourdain used to come and have lunch. This is one of his favorite restaurants. And actually, come here. I want to introduce you to somebody. This is Mr. Russell Crowe.
Hello,
See?
Russell.
So he apparently. Oh, really?
Yeah.
He donated some. Well, he made donations for the post-blast recovery of Le Chef, because this, all along this street, all along Marmahal Street, the highway, big chunks of Ashrafiyin, they got severely damaged from the explosion. So.
You said you're...
That got damaged by mental explosion. Yeah, sorry.
You said your place was damaged, right, by the explosion?
Yeah. Oh, in a straight line, I was like 800 meters away from the explosion. Yeah.
So you were actually here yourself.
Yeah. A lot of these bars, well, the whole commerce, supermarkets, shops, bars, restaurants, they were so damaged by the explosion that, you know, it affected the local businesses severely. So it took a long time for a lot of these places to reopen.
There's people's homes as well. It's not just businesses. Some people lost literally.
Of course. Some people just left for good. They never came back. It's good to see this place coming back to life, but it's been a long process of like observing how Beirut is coming back and rising back from the ashes, which is interesting because before the Lira crisis, before the pandemic, before the explosion, Lebanese people used to be very proud of their resilience. They would say, oh, you know, we're like the phoenix, you know, we're going to rise again. But now nobody, at least from the new generation, nobody wants to talk about resilience or the phoenix. They just want to have a normal life.
They're just
don't.
tired.
Sure.
Yeah.
They're tired, so they replaced the word resilience with resistance. The first thing that happened was people were in shock. People didn't know what happened, where the
Yeah.
explosion came from, and you
Is
know.
there going to be another one?
Yeah, for sure.
What
They
do you
thought
do?
maybe they were being attacked militarily speaking. And then when the dust settled later that night, people. I was asking around, are you going to wait for the government to come and clean the mess, to pick up the
Yeah.
pieces, recover the houses? And everybody laughed at me. They said, no, we are doing it ourselves. It was actually the Lebanese people who took to the streets and decided to clean everything, and just, you know, places like this, for example, this was so damaged.
Have you noticed a big change in general in the country over the past few years?
Yeah, I would say that, you know, before 2019, before the revolution, I think people were living in kind of an illusion. You know, it was always precarious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lebanon, especially Beirut, was always precarious. You had a lot of wealth, but you also had a lot of poverty.
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of fancy buildings and a lot of like garbage everywhere, for example. You know.
Yeah.
So then you had several stages of crisis. We can go this way.
This way, yeah.
One was the revolution itself and the Lira crisis. Then you had the pandemic. Then you had the blasts and the post-blast. Then you had the electricity crisis and the fuel crisis. And the fuel crisis was two-folded. So you had the fuel that was necessary for the cars, for the engines, but also for the generators
Yeah.
to compensate for the lack of electricity
Sure.
provided by the government. Which means, you know, it's been layer after layer after layer. So in the space of 3 years, there's been a massive decline, you know, in everything regarding socioeconomics in Lebanon.
And the Lira
So-
crisis in general, what was the straw that broke the camel's back? What started it?
Well, first of all, let me tell you, this used to be worth $67. This is the highest currency, the note, the highest note in the Lebanese currency, the Lebanese lira.
$67.
This was $67. Now it's worth less than $1.
When was that? When was it?
It's been gradual, but since 2019, a lot of the money that was in Lebanese banks vanished.
Yep.
Lebanese people couldn't access their money. It was basically a Ponzi scheme. But start of 2020, you know, the lira. So the black market was created, and the lira was reduced by half. So
Yep.
it was 3,000 instead of 1,500. That was still manageable because the supermarket prices were not as high
Yeah.
as they are now. And so if you had dollars, especially dollars coming from abroad, you know, from your family abroad or your friends abroad, you could actually have a decent
Standard of living.
standard of living. But, you know, things got crazy. You know, when it got to 10,000, 20,000, it was 50,000 at the start of 2023. But now it's double. It's like, now it's over 100. So
It's
how-
accelerating, if anything.
I mean, so I'm just looking at the prices now, and even if you have dollars in Lebanon and you exchange them in the black market, your money is gone because the prices are so high for supermarket goods, generator bills, rent, fuel for the car. So
Where's it going though? Like, it happened, as you say, even from the beginning of this year, so quick.
yeah,
What do you do?
you
Is it gonna
you
get
you
worse?
immigrate.
You immigrate.
It's getting worse.
Merhaba. Şükran.
Do you understand why this happened? The economic crisis, how?
Because of the central bank of Lebanon, they were just instigating Lebanese people to deposit as much dollars as possible, as many dollars as possible in their bank accounts, with obscenely high interest rates. So if you had a bank account here in Lebanon back then, pre-revolution, you could make a lot of profit because of the huge interest rates. But you know, that comes at a cost. So one day they just decided to say, oh no, you can't, you know, we don't have dollars, you know, you can't access your dollars. And you know, within a few months, billions of dollars were vanished. They vanished from the central bank to offshore accounts, especially in Europe.
So what does that mean? Does it mean that someone stole it?
Yeah. Starting with the, you know, the director of the central bank, Riyad Saleh.
Do you think that it was planned to happen this way, or would
Yes, but again, this is a country where they change time zones, you know, whenever they want, or they don't change time zones.
Or not, yeah, or half and half.
Yeah.
Well, what does the future hold? Because
Who knows? They live one day at a time. Now, tonight I know I'm gonna have a nice meal with my wife, nice with my baby, gonna smoke shisha, hopefully. And tomorrow we'll see. Tomorrow, you know, we have some work to do. And then the next day we don't even know what time zone we're in. So, you know, it kind of puts you, it kind of makes sense that you don't know what time zone you're in at the moment. Because nothing else makes sense in this country, you know? So, yeah. So you live one day at a time. You take care of your own people, and then you live one day at a time.
as the sun started to set, we headed back across town and said our goodbyes to João. The social economic situation here in Lebanon is incredibly difficult, but people here never forget to smile and stop loving life. The financial crisis in Beirut is important, and although we didn't want to focus only on the negative, to be honest, we felt it would be unfair not to mention what is affecting every aspect of daily life here in Lebanon. And what is happening here in this country right now is incredibly difficult and will be read about in the history books for years to come. However, this is just one side to the country. Despite the current financial climate, Lebanon is one of the most beautiful, friendly and diverse countries on earth, with absolutely delicious food. It's home to some of the world's oldest cities, most revered natural sites. And we're going to aim to show you some of these amazing places, as well as one of the world's best cuisines in our upcoming videos. But for now, thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to check out Masterworks using the link in the description box below, and see you in the next one. Mwah!